Driving change in maritime. Today I'm going to discuss towage with Gerrit Peekstok. Welcome in our Vodcast. Gerrit, welcome in our Vodcast.
Thank you.
Good to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
I was preparing the studio conversation and I was going back to like where did we first meet and what was it? But you go back a long way in port. And if I need to think about it, who is Gerrit? Then it's all about networking. It's about connecting. It's about parties that are happening in the port. It's about Young Havenvereniging, and then also with a lot of service providers and pilots where you have been working. So you've got a significant background in maritime, I would say. But maybe it's good for the audience to introduce you a bit, yourself a bit.
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah, my name is Gerrit Peekstok. I'm commercial area manager for Boluda Towage. Mainly responsible for the commercial activities of Boluda in Rotterdam. And before I joined the Boluda Towage, I worked for the Rotterdam pilots. And before that, the Rotterdam Port Authority. So indeed, I've had quite some different roles in the port already.
Yeah. But maybe it's also good to, before we step into whole processes like port call optimization and towage, can you elaborate a bit more on what does it entail, how does it work, and what are the things that you are encountering in your role as commercial area manager, but I think in towage in general?
As a starter, Boluda Towage is a family company, family-owned company. We are active in over 100 ports in the world. We have over 400 floating assets active in the world. We are mainly based in Europe and South America. And since a few years, we are expanding our activities to Asia, for example, Hong Kong and Egypt. And recently we took over a smaller activity in Finland. And that's basically how we try to expand our network to make sure that our customers are served on the best level possible. And for towage, our main focus is harbor towage, to be honest, which means that we assist the vessels of our customers into the port, through the port, and while they leave the port. As Boluda, we have some different activities as well, Boluda Lines, for example. But for the towage part, we are focusing on harbor towage. And for a smaller part, we also have some offshore activities. And towage means basically when a vessel comes into a port, she needs to maneuver on quite short, tight routes. They need speed or they need to reduce speed. And in order to do so, together with the pilot, we connect the tugs to the vessel and make sure she can berth safely without any accidents and all very controlled. And that's what we do in Rotterdam for over 34,000 times a year, so around 90 to 100 times a day. We assist the vessel.
That's significant.
That's quite some big numbers. Yeah.
And then it's sometimes one tug, but in many cases with the big vessels, it's also multiple tugs.
Yeah, it varies from 1 to 4 tugs usually. So the smaller vessels with better maneuverability, they use 1 tug. The bigger vessels with deeper draft or in bad weather circumstances, they use 4 tugs. And that goes on 24/7. Hours a day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah.
And if I would ask the captain of the tug, what are the difficult moments in bringing a vessel, safely berthing a vessel?
In general, connecting and disconnecting the tug is the most riskful part of the job, because you have to encounter the vessel very close while sailing. So it's all about safety as well for the crew and for both vessels. And once it's connected, the captain of the tug receives his instructions from the pilot on the bridge. And then it's all, well, I would say business as usual. But business as usual is in shipping always risky as well. So safety is one of our main focuses while doing the job.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Big ropes.
Yeah.
If this volume is moving, then
it's hard to stop and hard to move. Yeah.
That's really interesting. But and where does your role start? Like the vessel shows up at port, and are you then involved as a commercial manager, or did you do your job already earlier in that process?
Well, both ways. We have some long-standing relationships with big customers, not only calling Rotterdam but other ports as well. So we have an agreement with those customers that we assist their vessels in the ports where we are active. That's how it usually goes, and every now and then there's a vessel coming into the port where there's no defined partnership with a towage company, and then it's together with the other parties in the chain. We of course obviously try to convince the customer that our services are the best quality and the safest as well.
Yeah. Nice to know. And your customers, if I would ask them, what is the key selling point of Boluda? What are they looking for?
Basically, they are looking for reliability and safety. So they know they need some tugs to come into the port. So all they need to know is that it's been arranged for, and if they appoint us as a towage company, we have to make sure we will be there on time with sufficient tugs and well-trained crews. So basically what we say is wherever in the world a captain sees the red funnels of Boluda tugs showing up, he must feel relieved because he knows it's all safe and it's all good. So that's the main focus we have on selling our services.
Okay. And then taking it into operation. We know Rotterdam is a big port. You just stated 34,000 assists on a year basis. I guess that must be a lot of planning. How do you make sure that everything? How is that process structured?
That's quite an extensive process indeed. Basically, when we talk about the regular assistances, the agent of the vessel orders the movement of the vessel, arrival or departure. And together with the pilot and the port authority, we align the capacity of all nautical service providers. And once we have all confirmed, we confirm it back to the agent, and he confirms it to the vessel. And we all know we will be there on a certain time. So we don't lose any capacity, and the vessel is assisted at the time he wanted. That's in normal circumstances when it's very windy or when there's bad visibility. We have sort of adjusted services where we try to make sure that all vessels are assisted on time as well, but safely in the circumstances that are not normal. So that requires quite some, extensive cooperation with the pilots, the port authority, the linesmen, the agents. So that's going on 24/7 as well. Usually it's 2 hours before departure and 3 hours before arrival. Then that's the standard ordering notice for vessels in Rotterdam. And that's where we start to make sure with the nautical service providers together that we all will be there on time to assist the vessel safely. And we also have some special projects, for example, dockings or barges or floating objects that we assist as well. And there usually the procedure is a bit different because we have usually days before we have already the discussions with the yards and the agents and the pilots and the harbormaster to make sure that it's all safe and arranged for. So that's the two different processes we have basically.
Is it? Do you consider that as better planned or?
No, but there are more dependencies. So we have to make sure we have the right tugs, the right equipment. The weather restrictions usually are a bit tighter. I think the big value of the Port of Rotterdam is that we are all able to assist vessels on quite a short notice. So when you want to enter the Port of Rotterdam, you just have to give a call, basically, and we will make sure it works. And in order to deliver our services on the best way, we need some predictable information, actually. So the earlier we know an ETD or an ETA, and the more predictable it is, the better we can schedule our tugs, where we are able to scale up and scale down by arranging different crewing systems. So, for example, we have some tugs working on a 24/7 basis, where we change the crew every 12 hours. And we have some tugs working on, well, we call it block boats. So the crew remains on board, and they have resting hours for 10 hours in a 24-hour period. And when we know it's getting busier in the next 24 hours, for example, you can scale up by changing some block boats to 24-hour boats, and the other way around. So it's not only planning the vessels, but planning the crews as well. And on the other hand, making sure that all tugs are always well maintained, and they need their docking and their scheduled maintenance as well. So, well, it's all about planning. It's not only planning the vessels, but it's planning our own vessels as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You already started on the topic of predictability, having the ETA and the ETD. I think if there is one thing we know in shipping, it's plan will change.
Yeah,
always things that change, whether it being weather, crane breakdowns, fog, or there are many things. If you look at the processes that you have set in place, how are you dealing with those changes or this maybe lack of predictability?
Well, basically what we try to do is to make sure that the biggest part of the planning, which is quite predictable actually, it can change at 30 minutes before or after, but in the end it's quite predictable. We have to know those on the beforehand, so we can change plans for the other cases where it's not predictable or where it's delayed by weather or, well, as you say, broken cranes or any other incidents. So what we are trying to do is to make sure that the regular part is planned for already and taken care for, so we can all put our energy on the non-predictable part of it and make sure that everyone is assisted safely and on time. So one of the things we have started to do is, together with agents and our customers and some terminals in Rotterdam, to plan a bit more ahead of the formal official ordering notice, where the terminal is making sure the agent always has the latest update, and the agent makes sure we have always the latest update, so we can have a bit of a better look into the future, and the future then it's not 3 days, but it's 6 hours. Mm-hmm. And if we know it will be very busy in 6 hours or in 12 hours, we can make sure we change plans with our crews, or we replan, reschedule planned maintenance, for example, or we can make sure that all tugs are bunkered and ready to go. So that's why we try to be a bit ahead of the formal official notice. And then again, it's all about predictability. So you can say we will leave in 6 hours, but if the 6 hours is 10 hours, it's it's a waste of energy, of course. Yeah. So that's why we do it together with the customers, the terminals, but also the other nautical service providers, because we can be there. But when the pilot isn't there yet, it's all for nothing, and the other way around as well. If the pilot is there and we are not there, we are all waiting, basically.
And the other interesting part is we've been in the industry as Teqplay for quite a while. What we also have noticed there is quite some reluctance in sharing data. But if I listen into the nautical process and what you were mentioning, a lot of that information is shared in a good manner, or is there? Has that always been that case, or are things changing in that? In that manner?
Well, I think what's changing is the way we share it, but I think the operational data within the port has been shared quite open always. In the past it was by telephone, and now it's all digital. But we all know, and the nautical service providers amongst each other, we all know our capacity when it's being busy. How can we schedule a vessel the best for the best moment and the safest way to work? And that's shared by the harbormaster as well, and the agents are open to share as well. So I think every party involved is working on the best way to share the data and the information to find the best solution for the customer.
Yeah. And an observation from my end, I still feel sometimes like there is reluctance, but it might have to do with the fact that the information is used in a different context than that there are other processes who start to rely on it, and that people are not feeling confident in providing that information. Is the system closed at this point in time? Is it open?
At the moment, it's closed because it's all about making sure the capacity of the nautical service providers is well planned. To be honest, and it's all to make sure the harbormaster always knows what the plan is and will be, and via the systems, the agent and the ship as well. Mm-hmm. And I think it's all about operational excellence, making sure that every vessel is assisted at the best way possible within the limited boundaries, of course, of the port and the infrastructure. And I think the level of sharing the information on that base is very high. There might be some reluctance in sharing with external parties because it's all about your own processes. We want to be sure that when it's shared, it's in the right context. Because when there's no tug alongside, it can mean many things. It doesn't have to be a bad planning or whatsoever. But it can also mean that another job is delayed, for example, or it took a bit longer than expected on the beforehand, or a vessel broke down or whatsoever. So that's why we are a bit careful with sharing that sort of information, because we want to be sure it's in the right context. And that's all. Well, the aim of sharing the information has to be to improve the process in the end. Mm-hmm.
And interesting, like you can look at it, operational excellence you mentioned. That means like using your assets. I assume it's using your assets in the most optimal way in that manner. If we move towards the port call, it's a kind of collaborative process, right? It's about resources, about the pilots, it's about the towage, it's about the fairway being available in that part. Are there any mechanisms that are moving towards collaborative planning, collaborative decision making, or how does that work?
Yeah, well, there is, apart from all projects going on at the moment, we already have in practice the joint system where we as nautical service providers plan our capacity together with the harbormaster. So what we are trying to do is to make sure all equipment, but the fairway as well, are used as efficient as possible. To assist the vessel as good as possible, and that's a sort of collaborative joint planning actually, where we all let each other know what's our planning, what's our capacity, and how can we make sure we are all there at the same time and at the right time as well, and then as a part of that, we can all be there, the pilots, the linesmen, the tugs, but the fairway has to be cleared as well by the harbormaster.
Yeah.
So that's always a joint effort. Yeah.
Do you see that part? But I think a lot of the operating model in the port is still first come, first serve. Like who made a call, that will get, at least the terminals do have that mechanism in place. I think for towage it holds as well. So that means like there is still a kind of mechanism which is like who is first will be served first. Is that correct, or is that?
No, well, that's why we have in the Port of Rotterdam a formal notice, so to say, which means that at the moment of the notice, all service providers and the harbormaster has to say we can all be there and it's possible to go. It's a go. And then then the notice period is there, and then a vessel is confirmed. So for all regular vessels, it's first come, first serve, but it's all in an order of time, so to say.
Yeah.
And that's why we have that fixed notice. And of course, there are some not standard voyages like LNG. Tankers or deep drafted vessels, where we have a different notice period because of the draft and the number of tugs and the tidal restrictions those vessels have. But for the regular flow, it's once you order, you get a permission or a confirmation around the 2 hours notice, and that's how it's all processed. I
sometimes like to ask the question about the magical wand. If there is something that you would be able to change by magic in that process, what would be the thing that you would change?
I think one of the things that would be very helpful for us as a towage provider to assist the vessels we have to assist is that we know a bit more in advance the ETA or the ETD and the likability of the timestamp, so we can plan ahead of the process, and there are some movements going towards that point already. But then again, we have to discuss it with all nautical service providers together, because it makes no sense when one of the parties is there and the other party is not there.
No.
So even with an extended notice period, it's still a joint effort. And one of the best parts, the unique selling points of the Port of Rotterdam is that you have a short notice period and a high reliability. And I think that's one of the points we always have to make sure that it will keep working, because we have no locks. So we are an open port, and that's one of the characteristics of the Port of Rotterdam we have to maintain.
Yeah. And there are many discussions going on GIT, just-in-time arrival.
Yeah.
How does that come into play in the equation we were just discussing? Will that give the clarity? Will that make sure that things have become more predictable?
Well, I think it will most definitely help, because then we are all not only in the port, but already before entering the port, all parties involved are working on the best and the most logical timestamp and way to work. So the earlier we all know what's the plan of the vessel and when is she planning to come in, the earlier we all can make sure the infrastructure, the equipment is available without wasting any energy or exhausting any more emissions than necessary in the end.
And it's also like if we look at the cargo flows in ports, the prediction is it's going to rise because of the energy transition, less energy dense fuels in the port. if you look at the port of Rotterdam, if you look at the towage at Boluda, does that mean more capacity? Does that mean you will start working smarter in that way, trying to be more efficient?
No, it doesn't necessarily mean more capacity, but it means that we have to be very careful, as we always are, to make sure that the capacity we have fits in the requests of our customers. And of course, our customers are following the cargo flows as well. When there's no cargo, there's no vessel to assist.
Yeah.
So what we are doing is to make sure, and we look ahead of it for the next 2-3 years, to make sure we have the right tugs in the various port areas, with the right bullet pools, and we have to make sure that we can always make different combinations of tugs necessary for the vessels arriving. We see quite a steep skill up of vessels coming into Rotterdam, which means that we have to adjust our fleet, not necessarily with more tugs or different tugs, but we have to make sure that the right tugs are always available. And that's a never-ending game in the end, because it changes sometimes in weeks or months. But the trend is that there is a skill up, indeed, and that means that we have to adjust our fleet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the projects we are typically also looking at a lot of our maritime customers is the continuous improvement. You do have the resources, and trying to continuously improve, being aware of what it is, not answering it with more equipment or more, but really deep diving on what is the actual constraint, what is making it happen. In your company, how does that play a role? Are you working on a continuous improvement program?
Well, yeah, we are, because we towage is quite a cost-intensive business, so to say. But, you have to make sure you have the equipment, but you also have to make sure you have the right crew and enough sufficient crew to operate the tugs. And that's a process that we can do that in a week or a few days. It's taking years to renew your fleet, to make sure you have sufficient crew members, enough crew members to operate the tugs. So we have to be ahead of things happening, and it's sometimes it takes years to adjust the operation you have to new circumstances. And in the other hand, every now and then we see some disruptions in logistics where we have to change on a very short term, and that's the business in the end. Mm-hmm. So basically, for the long term, and that's I think that's one of the advantages we have as a family-owned company. We are there for the long term, so we're not jumping into a port, trying our best and disappear when it's not working. But we are there to stay, so we have to make sure that our fleet and our tugs and our equipment and our people are sufficient for the longer term. And that's not something you can do without continuous improvement, because then the reality will be ahead of you instead of the other way around. So we try to be proactive as possible.
An interesting topic, you started mentioning crew, having crew available with the current market conditions, with a lot of jobs that are available. Yeah. Mentioning the 24-hour service, is it easy to get people, or is that a bottleneck?
I think having people hired is a bottleneck not only for us, but it's for basically at the moment it's for almost all companies in the world, in the Netherlands. We do have enough people, but it's getting more difficult to hire the right skilled, educated people, and that's basically not only for towage, but it's for all maritime nautical jobs. So what we are trying to do is to make sure with all the other parties and, for example, educations and universities, that the practice of a nautical job is quite challenging, yes, but it's a very nice job and it's a very nice industry to work in. And if you want to see something from the world, start a job in shipping, because you can do both ways. You can sail around the world, but you can also work very close to home. And for example, on a tugboat, you have all types and sorts of vessels and cargoes right in front of you, quite literally, and you are helping to keep the Port of Rotterdam operative, together with all other parties involved, and that's a very nice job. So that's what we are trying to tell and to gain also with the educational parties, and that's as well. That's a never-ending game, because it's always a challenge. Yeah.
And if you think about maybe a good end question, AI is going to solve all problems. That is actually what people are, or that's at least what people are thinking of it or mentioning it very often. What is your take from the towage perspective? Is it going to play a role? Where is it going to play a role? Are you already active in the world of AI and digitization?
Well, I think for the shorter term, in terms of years, it can help us with, for example, improving the planning, or assisting us with the maintenance of tugs and the most efficient way to use the tugs, to operate the tugs. So that's more technical, planning wise. And it's hard to say what it will do for shipping on the longer term. But I think for the coming years, there will always be human intelligence involved, because the thing you can expect in shipping is that you have to expect unexpected things to happen. It's always, as you already mentioned, it's always changing plans on a very short notice, and I don't see yet how that will be taken over or will be done by AI, other than in assisting us, helping us with improving the planning, but that's for the short term.
AI would definitely will play a role in automation and digitization, and in the planning, as you mentioned. But it will remain.
I think
most likely some humans will need to be. It will be augmenting with AI type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Gerrit, I'd like to thank you for being on the podcast.
No problem.
I enjoyed the conversation. Learned again some more things about towage. I thought I knew a lot, but there are still a couple of new things which popped up.
Well, that's good.
So really thank you for that.
No problem. You're welcome.